Welcome to Musician Review. This is Dean Lanker of Fever Trees, and that song you heard at the beginning was our newest single called Break, I Saw the Glass. I'll keep that playing in the background. However, this podcast is not to talk about our music, it's to talk about other albums that have been released by other artists this year, as only a musician can. So I'm going to start off by talking about pop-punk band Simple Plan, known for their 2002 album No Pads, No Helmets, Just Balls, an album which went 2 times platinum, who just came back this year with the February 19th release of a brand new album called Taking One for the Team. This was their first full-length album release since 2011's Get Your Heart On, and in my opinion it's much better than their last album. The album kicks off with a certain nostalgic and welcome sound for the old-time fans like myself of Simple Plan. And the first song is called Opinion Overload. It features distorted, melodic guitar parts for the intro, palm muting during the chorus, and fast, catchy lyrics, along with a well-crafted hook. Pierre Bouvier, lead singer, sings, "Quit bringing me down. Hey, I'm doing things exactly like I want to. What part of that don't you understand?" It shows a lot of maturity and development within the artist, because the insecurities that pestered and fueled the early success of Simple Plan seem to have dissipated, and now they're confident in saying, "Quit bringing me down, I'm doing what I want to do." A new kind of message from the pop-punk rockers. Some other songs on the album of note, or one that really stood out to me was I Don't Want to Go to Bed, which has an R&B vibe from the very beginning of the song, kind of like a modern R&B pop song, with a little bit of punk in the vocals, but mainly R&B pop. And they actually feature hip-hop artist Nelly in the song. And the song gives off a slightly chilling, almost haunting vibe as Bouvier repeats, "I don't want to go to bed," in a very melodic and catchy fashion. And the next song on the album is called Kiss Me Like Nobody's Watching, and that one reminds me a ton of a band called Good Charlotte, another pop-punk band, due to release more music later this year. We'll be sure to review that when that comes out, but back to Simple Plan. The song Kiss Me Like Nobody's Watching has an upbeat, infectious vocal part, and it has a chorus that's very reminiscent of, as I said, Good Charlotte. One more song from this album that I'd like to talk about is Singing in the Rain. It's maybe the poppiest song on this album, and in fact, it sounds a lot like a song you might hear from One Direction or another modern pop band. It has a happy, carefree, no worries vibe, and the notorious catchy vocals that you hear from Simple Plan. The message of the song is basically, nothing is going to bring me down. Even if it pours down raining, I'll still sing this happy song. That was a direct quote, but it kind of is a theme of the whole song. And I said that'd be the last one I'm going to talk about, but I forgot. There's one last song off this album called Perfectly Perfect. And I said the last one, Singing in the Rain, sounds like One Direction, but Perfectly Perfect could be a One Direction song, just with Bouvier's lyrics thrown on. The way it's mixed, it's a soft, heartfelt, cleverly written acoustic ballad, written for a girl that is second-guessing herself. And the main sentiment of this song is best described by the lyric. It's hard to think that a girl like you could have any insecurities. It's funny how all the things that you changed are things that are cute to me. So what they're trying to do on this is, of course, appeal to the female demographic, which is a large number of not just pop fans, but pop-punk fans back in the day, is a large number of female fans. So songs like this are trying to appeal to their old female crowd, as well as attempt to appeal to a new one. Currently, this album is sitting at number 15 on the Billboard 200 pop charts in the United States, pop albums chart that is, and it debuted at number 94. So it's been slowly working its way up in the 21 weeks since its release. Meanwhile, in Mexico, surprisingly enough, the album peaked at number 1 and stayed there for several weeks. And that's the review for Taking One for the Team by Simple Plan. I'll move on to the next album now. And this next album is actually an extended play, not a full-length album, an EP from Philadelphia pop-punk group The Starting Line. And they released this EP. It's called Anyways. The Anyways EP was released the very same day as Simple Plan's Taking One for the Team album. This EP was 3 songs released on vinyl, CD, and digitally, of course. And in many respects, this EP is a departure from not only the previous releases of Starting Line, but the entire pop-punk genre as well. Previously, the biggest hit for Starting Line was 2002's teenage heartthrob, angst-driven song titled Best of Me. It is a song that fit right in with the emerging pop-punk scene at the time, along with Blink-182, Fall Out Boy, New Found Glory, Sum 41, and of course Simple Plan that we just talked about. The EP, Anyways, it shows a band that has matured a lot, both musically and lyrically, from the pop-punk rockers of the last decade into a band that's very marketable in the current year, 2016. The A-side of the 7-inch EP, which is how I listened to the album, very cool little 45 vinyl record that comes with a cover sleeve with a picture of a light post on it. The first song on that EP is called Anyways. It's the title track, and it establishes this new sound right away. The title track starts with a heavy tube amplified guitar that comes in a mellow tempo all by itself, and this rhythm guitar is then joined by an indie rock inspired lead part after one measure. But perhaps the biggest indication that this is a fresh new sound for the band isn't the music. It occurs whenever the vocals come in. The style of lead singer Kenny Vasoli has evolved from the young, love-seeking pop-punk vocals of the previous releases to a matured, powerful, and wise voice. And the lyrics go along with this new, powerful, wise vocal tone. He sings the opening line that goes, "Well, I've been given a lot of time to get my life set straight and my head on right. I assumed that I could do no wrong until I started to lose my charm." Then later in the song, he continues this matured theme whenever he sings, "I know we've got a lot of pain, 'cause it's so hard to be human in so many ways. Overthinking most of my life, I should be swallowing all of my pride." These lyrics are very deep, and they strike a chord in listeners that rings much deeper than the typical pop-punk song of years past would. Instead of just being a love song, this is a kind of almost like a view on mortality and like learning about life as you go through it. So Kenny Vasoli and the band have evolved a lot in terms of lyrical content, as evidenced by this first song on the EP. The second song on the EP, it's actually still on the first side of the 7-inch vinyl that I picked up. It's called Quitter, and Quitter it's kind of like the old stuff. It's kind of, in a lot of ways, like it's got the up-tempo pop-punk driving guitar, the pop-punky drum beats, but it also has some combination of the old style of singing for Vasoli and the new style. So it's kind of in between indie and pop-punk, which is a kind of a cool sound. Lyrics in this song are not nearly as impressive as the first song. It's kind of just a typical generic pop-punk lyrical song lyrically, but the intertextuality where you have the pop-punk energy and instrumentals combined with the vocals of indie rock, but with the lyrics of pop-punk again. It's just kind of a cool intertextual blend there. And that brings us to the very last song on the 7-inch EP. This one's on the B-side. You flip the vinyl over, drop the needle, play the B-side, and you get a song called Luck, which very, very good song in my opinion. It's pretty similar to the A-side of the EP, Anyways, in the way that it sounds very indie. It's very mature. It's a well-constructed tune, perfect for ending this extended play. Like the first two songs, it starts off with a tube-driven guitar all by itself, and then this guitar is quickly joined by a lead guitar, which adds dynamic and complements the song very well. The lead guitar in this song is probably the best on the record. It provides a hook, a very high melodic sound that complements the rhythm section of the song, and really sticks the hook in the listener's mind. Just a very catchy melodic sound. The tempo is much softer than that of Quitter, and the drums really reflect that. So the drums are kind of mellow, almost like Anyways, like kind of the slower sound, but different in the way of the lead guitar in this one really, really high, really melodic, and different lyrical content. In this song, Vasoli is tackling the topic of working towards something and just persevering and waiting for things to turn in your favor. It's clear in the chorus as Vasoli melodically pleads, "On hard times, waiting for all our luck to turn." That really sums up the theme of the song, but it continues to build in a very clever, well-constructed way. The combination of the pop-punk, alternative, and indie rock roots are very clear throughout this EP, and they're executed with a very profound precision.
She's feeling weak. I forget her voice.
Unfortunately, this EP didn't chart on the Billboard, but it was a very well-constructed EP, and just because it wasn't successful commercially in terms of the Billboard charts doesn't mean that it wasn't a well-received EP. It received very good reviews in the music community, and I, of course, am giving it a good review as well. So the storyline did well with this EP, and just because it didn't chart, that doesn't really take away anything from the craftsmanship and the good artistry by Kenny Vasoli and the band on this new release, the first release since all the way back in 2009. The last album we're going to be talking about today on Musician Review is English rock outfit Bloc Party's release, Hymns, which came out back on January 29th, and it didn't chart in the US, but it debuted at number 12 on the UK's album chart. Hymns is a bit of a departure for Bloc Party, and it's really unclear whether or not this departure took them in the right direction. Artistically, the album does do a very good job. They produce a style of music that is both new to them and a unique sound overall. But this new style does not ever reach the same level of excitement and energy as the 2004 debut album Silent Alarm, which featured the hit song Banquet, or even the level of the follow-up album A Weekend in the City. Contrary to these earlier albums that were critically received very well, Hymns starts off extremely slow. There's no upbeat punk drum beats or fast-paced guitar riffs. It's just keyboards, bass, and a vocal track layered with effects to start off. Long gone is the Bloc Party we knew, who would fill the sound of their albums with saturated guitar licks and fast, hard-driven punk rock drum beats. I find this difference in instrumentation is very hard to digest as a fan of their old sound. But fortunately, for the most part, the vocals and lyrics are still done pretty well. So while we're missing out early on in the album on the rock aspect of the music, you still have well-written lyrics and crafty vocal hooks from the lead singer. On the first listen, only one song really stood out as something I would like to listen to again, which was quite disappointing. But on the second listen, a few of the tracks began to grow on me, although very slightly. The first song on the album is called The Love Within, and it has the feel of a hymn. The album is called Hymns, and it was their intended effect for the album. They combined the sound of the classic organ with an almost EDM-style drum beat. And though the song is catchy at parts, it doesn't really hook the audience. It sets the tone that the record will be nothing like anything else we've heard from them before. But then they follow this up with Into the Earth, which is probably the best song on the album. It reminds me of their earlier music. Has a very catchy guitar progression and grapples with the dark theme of death and being buried into the ground. My True Name starts off with a catchy, cleverly written guitar lick that was common on the previous albums, but it never really built up into the dynamic rock song I thought it could have been. Different Drugs and Virtues are two other songs with catchy parts, but I did not like either as a whole. Like My True Name, I expected them to keep building into a dynamic chorus or bridge, but it just never happened. Despite debuting all the way up at number 12 on the UK albums chart, it dropped clear down to 96 in its second week. The album is clearly not what you'd expect from Bloc Party, and it's not being received as well critically. As a whole, it's not a great record, but there are a few pieces that are worthy of attention, and a couple singles that will be worth listening to. Those singles are, of course, Into the Earth and My True Name that I mentioned earlier. Unless you're a hardcore Bloc Party fan, I don't recommend listening to this album, just those singles I mentioned. But in rebuttal to these low reviews and the criticism of the album, Bloc Party lead singer Okereke explained to the Rolling Stone magazine, "I've never been too concerned with how people are going to react to things. The point of making the record was that it was coming from a very honest place." And that is true. As an artist, I feel it's important that you are writing from an honest place. So while this music wasn't their best to me, I'm glad that he did what was true to him. He didn't sell out, and that he didn't do something that wasn't him just to make money, which we see so many bands doing. So not a great album, but they stayed true to themselves and released a couple catchy singles. That's all we have for today on Musician Review. I hope you enjoyed the dialogue on the albums and you can pick up some of this new material. And we'll catch you next time. I'm going to go ahead and leave you with the outro. Signing off, this is Dean Lanker, and you're listening to Fever Trees, Break, I Saw the Glass. Thanks for listening to my podcast.
Just out of reach, so she thinks, and it makes her scream out loud while the world around her drowns. I saw the glass down by the lake, picked up a rock, no big mistake. I saw her break in front of me, no big mistake. I saw her break. She's feeling weak. She has not slept. Seems like we. Oh no. She's feeling weak. I forget her voice. I forget her skin. I forget her love. Oh, everything. I saw the glass down by the lake, picked up a rock, no great mistake. I saw her break in front of me, no big mistake. I saw her break. I forget her voice, I forget her lips, I forget her love. Oh, everything. It's all break. I saw her break.